We often think of intelligence as either something you're born with or something you can build through effort and experience. But research shows it's not an either or situation. In reality, both nature and nurture shape how we learn and grow. We all differ in our natural abilities, and one way scientists have studied this is by looking at twins. Identical twins share all of their genes, while fraternal twins share only about half. So if identical twins are more alike in intelligence than fraternal twins, even when raised in different homes, it tells us that genetics play a major role. In fact, study after study confirms this. Your genes influence your intelligence in a significant way. In one large study, researchers found that genetic differences were more closely tied to academic performance than home environments. As they explained, genetic thinking counters the deplorable tendency to blame teachers and parents and helps us understand that learning can be naturally harder for some people, not because they aren't trying, but because we're all wired a little differently. The same study also found that traits like confidence, curiosity, and even behavior had genetic roots. Genes are like a blueprint for constructing a building. Imagine detailed architectural plans that specify the layout, structure, and foundation. Similarly, genes provide instructions for how our bodies and brains are put together, from our height to the organization of our brain circuits. But here's something just as important. Genes are not destiny. Just because you're born with certain genes doesn't mean they'll automatically shape who you become. Genes work more like light switches. They can turn on or off depending on your environment, and some may not activate until later in life. For example, you might have genes linked to strong reasoning or attention skills, but those abilities might not show up unless you've had experiences, like a great teacher, a challenging class, or even a life event that flips the switch. Even identical twins can grow up to have different strengths because of different life experiences. And your brain isn't fixed either. Throughout your life, it can rewire and adapt, a process called neuroplasticity. Think of your brain like a power grid. Some pathways reflect your habits or familiar ways of thinking. But when you try something new or take on a tough challenge, you carve out new paths. With practice, those new connections grow stronger. One striking example comes from a study in London. People training to be taxi drivers, who had to memorize thousands of city streets, were scanned before and after training. The part of the brain involved in navigation actually got bigger. Learning literally changed their brains. A helpful metaphor is to think of the brain like a muscle. It grows stronger the more you challenge it. Struggling with difficult mental tasks signals your brain to invest more resources in those areas. Brain growth often happens not when you get things right, but when you get them wrong and learn from your mistakes. So, both effort and genes matter, and the two are closely connected. Your effort and experiences can influence your biology by turning genes on or off and changing how your brain works. At the same time, your biology can constrain how effective your actions are and how much progress you can make. By understanding both how your actions shape your biology and how your biology can affect what's possible, you can give yourself the best chance to grow in ways that are meaningful to you.